Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast, a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today.
Welcome to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. Hello, I hope you're healthy and well. I hope you're handling all of the craziness okay right now. It's a lot. There's a lot going on in our world, and it's a lot to deal with. But that's why I'm here to bring some positivity, to share some all good stories. I do have lots of stories that kind of revolve around COVID-19 right now, but they're positive, of course, and then I do have some stories that have nothing to do with it. So I thought I'd just kind of mix them up through this entire episode, because there's just so much stories about COVID-19 and great things that people are doing that I would love to share with you. But I do, believe it or not, there are some other things going on in our world that has nothing to do with it. So I'll be sharing both of those. But let's just jump right into it. I hope this episode puts a smile on your face with all the chaos going around you. So my first thing I thought I'd talk about is that healthcare professionals may be able to dramatically speed up the COVID-19 testing process. There has been so many efforts to get somewhere with all the testing and, of course, the vaccine. But some scientists from Israel have demonstrated a technique that basically simultaneously screens up to 60 patient samples at a time instead of individually. So this could really speed up the testing process. So we all know that we need these testing all over the world, but specifically in Seattle, some healthcare professionals are setting up drive-through test sites that are allowing patients to submit samples in as little as 3 minutes, and it's all without even having to leave their vehicle. There's also a small town in northern Italy that has reported 0 new infections since they blanket tested all 3,300 of the town's residents. So we're making progress. So now some researchers at Technion, it's the Israel Institute of Technology, and Rambam Healthcare Campus have tested a method that will dramatically increase the current COVID-19 testing capabilities. And this is just by using existing available resources. So this method is known as pooling, they call it, and it basically enables simultaneously testing of just dozens of samples at once. So with all this research being done, this could really accelerate the rate of the testing, which of course we need. The trial was completed in a matter of days, thanks to the support of the Ministry of Health and the close collaboration between Technion and Rambam. So testing for COVID-19 is currently kind of conducted in Israel with a focus on people with like specific symptoms. The current rate of testing is about 1,200 a day, and that does not allow for monitoring of asymptomatic carriers in the population. So this does not allow for monitoring of asymptomatic carriers in the population, which of course is vital to really put an end to the pandemic. So COVID-19 is diagnosed with PCR testing, which is common for virus monitoring. This test examines the presence of a unique genetic sequence of viruses in a sample taken from the patient. The test takes several hours, which kind of generates a bottleneck of identifying COVID-19 infected people in Israel and around the world. So the Dr. Yuval Gavan is the director of Rambam Clinical Microbiology Laboratory, says, "Today we receive approximately 200 COVID-19 test samples a day, and each sample undergoes individual examination. According to the new pooling approach we have currently tested, molecular testing can be performed on a combined sample, taken from 32 or 64 patients. This way we can significantly accelerate the testing rate. Only in those rare cases where the joint sample is found to be positive will we conduct an individual test for each of the specific samples. So basically the good news here is that things are kind of getting a little bit faster. The more we can test, the more we can try to curb stomp this entire thing. So at Technion, it says, this is not a scientific breakthrough, but a demonstration of the effectivity of using the existing method and even the existing equipment to significantly increase the volume of samples tested per day. So this is done by pooling multiple samples in a single test tube. Even when we are conducted a joint sampling of 64 samples in which only one was a positive carrier, the system identified that there was a positive sample. So this is good. This is good. We're speeding up the process. He says, although there are some logistical challenges in implementing the method, we expect that it will greatly increase the volume of samples tested per day so that we can identify the asymptomatic carriers. This approach should reduce the chance of infection and flatten the infection curve. Let's hope it does. The director of Rambam Virology Lab, Dr. Moran Cohen, estimates that implementing pooling in the final stage of the PCR test will make it easier for us to shorten the entire process and significantly increase the test rate. The American Technion Society supports visionary education and world-changing impact through Technion. So this is pretty cool. They're really trying to fast forward this whole thing. The president of the Technion, Professor Yuri Savan, said, this experiment conducted by Technion and Rambam researchers is complex and under normal circumstances would take months. This is a remarkable example of the mobilization of an outstanding team in a time of crisis. The initial experiment was completed in less than 4 days. This achievement emphasizes the importance of the close relationship between Technion and Rambam and between medicine and engineering. The Technion researchers have been enlisted in the war against the coronavirus, and this is one of the many activities currently underway at Technion to combat the spread of the disease. There's efforts all around the world to try to speed this up and get it to the end faster. Now, my next story is about something that I'm sure you've seen all over social media. That's a big deal right now, and that's toilet paper. There is a toilet paper shortage right now. I'm sure you've seen memes about it. If you open up your social media pages at all, everyone's, trying to stock up on toilet paper. People are trying to, build forts of toilet paper and hide away in it, and there's a shortage of it. So some businesses are kind of taking it upon themselves to share their toilet paper wealth with the community and the members that are in need. So this Atlanta-based marketing firm, Trevelino Keller, is just one of many companies that I've read about since everything has gone down that are temporarily closed, of course, during quarantine. But the storage closets are filled with enough toilet paper for about 1,000 employees. So this company decided to give away all their toilet paper for free. Pretty cool. The company has launched the Toilet Paper Exchange. It's an employee-run initiative to distribute the toilet paper to community through toilet paper tosses. The company employees have already given away so much toilet paper by hosting drive-through giveaways during which they can kind of maintain social distancing by hurling the rolls of toilet paper through people's car windows. Sounds like some entertainment, because I think we all need some entertainment right now as well. In Wisconsin, the Milwaukee-based Pizza Corporation has taken a similar approach as well by giving away free rolls of toilet paper with their pizza deliveries. Pretty cool. I've seen people kind of try to, make light of the situation and make jokes about it and add toilet paper to the, your food or something like that along with it. So you gotta make light of the situation sometimes. So these are companies that are trying to distribute the resources that they have for the people that don't have them. Toilet paper is a shortage right now. So there are places that you can get free toilet paper. I'm sure there's a lot of free places in your area as well. There's some other individuals and restaurants from New York to San Francisco that have also kind of started their own toilet paper exchanges. This is just kind of, that ripple effect. hoping, the one company kind of does it, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and hopefully everyone has enough toilet paper and supplies to go through everything right now and to feel at ease. I think that's a lot of it too. It's like, what if I run out of toilet paper? It's that panic, what if that happens? What am I going to do? Well, do some research around your community. There's so many businesses all over our world that are trying to help out and give resources, from small companies to big companies. People are trying to help out, and if they have the supplies, they're going to give it to the people that need it. So check that out. I just think it's so cool. There's, it's kind of come a ripple effect that now everyone's doing a little bit of a toilet paper exchange. All different kinds of ripple effects in our world, isn't there? Okay, it's time for a little bit of a break. Don't go anywhere. I got some more stories that are definitely going to put a smile on your face. They're all positive and cheerful, because that's what I'm here for. Okay, stay tuned.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to GSMC, America Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Alyssa Jo. Let's get right back into these feel-good stories for you. I got lots of them today. My next one is about IKEA, and believe it or not, IKEA is helping with some medical supplies. The world healthcare system is really trying to keep up with the medical supply demands right now with all the outbreaks. And an IKEA actually in Sweden has become an unexpected helper with this situation. So earlier this week, some employees at the Stockholm location were reportedly really shocked to discover a stash of more than 50,000 medical masks gathering kind of dust in one of their warehouses. So the store had purchased these masks during the most recent bird flu outbreak. Upon rediscovering, that forgotten treasure of supplies, the manager decided to phone the University Hospital in Gothenburg, which is one of the largest hospitals in the nation, and offer to donate all of the masks. He says that they were over the moon and said, "What? Wow, just come." And he says it feels great in these times when you read about so much unpleasantness with the coronavirus and all that we can show some solidarity. I think it's important to do just that. We're just happy to have been able to contribute to something. So there you go. Believe it or not, an IKEA is coming in and saving a lot of people maybe. So that's pretty cool. I was reading some stories. There's lots of celebrities that are also doing things to help out. Ryan Reynolds and, of course, his wife, Blake Lively, announced on social media the other day that they're going to be donating $1 million to Feeding America and Food Banks Canada. That's pretty cool. Ryan encouraged all of his followers to follow suit and to look after themselves during these tough times. He says, take care of your bodies and hearts, leave room for joy, call someone who's isolated and might need a connection. Amy Adams and Jennifer Gardner partnered with Save the Stories to read stories on social media in order to raise some money for the Save the Children and No Kid Hungry Foundation, as well as Jimmy Fallon raised $20,000 for Feeding America after he aired his first Tonight Show Home edition while he's in quarantine, and his wife is shooting the camera. It's pretty cool. Another business department that you may know, Delta Airlines, the CEO of Delta Airlines, Bastian, published a letter to his employees on how he would be foregoing 100% of his salary for the next 6 months in order to avoid any layoffs. Now, that is a big sacrifice, and that is crazy. CEO of Delta Airlines really helping his employees. I just love so many people in so many different positions are just doing what they can, and it's super cool to read about. Now, let's change the subject a little bit. I have a story about some love notes. It has nothing to do with the COVID-19 right now. This is just a pure happy feel-good story. We all love receiving some mail. Have you ever gotten a love note? I think it just is like the nicest, sweetest thing in the entire world. Well, a young girl named Hannah Brencher, she had a vision. After she kind of went through dealing with depression herself, she was just getting out of college. She was kind of just dealing with life, the ups and downs, and she was just in a bad state, and this is when she started More Love Letters movement. So while she was dealing with her depression and just mental illnesses, she wanted to find a solution. So she started filling out notebooks with words that she needed to hear herself. And then she decided to tear that page out, and she would leave them around the city. She would leave them on buses and libraries, clothing store coat pockets for strangers to find, all these like different unique places. I thought it was pretty cool that she was doing that. And so, she said that she published a simple question to her blog, and it says, "Do you need someone to write you a love letter today?" And all of a sudden her inbox started filling up with just heartbreaking stories. She says, "That one question changed my life forever as I spent the next year writing hundreds of love letters to strangers in all parts of the world." Pretty cool. So then she decided to create a website-based organization that launches the letter writing campaigns to support individuals who need a little bit more uplifting. These are just kind of random letters of kindness in communities, and you can send them out. You can send them to specific people, and it's just spreading kindness is really what it is. Anyone can post a request for letters on behalf of someone that they know, and then the site posts new batches of requests weekly and invites visitors to respond to any of them. Each request includes a deadline for participation. So after volunteers are bundled up, they bundle all these letters up and submit them and deliver them. And surprise, the person gets a love letter and just a spread of kindness, which is so cool. So the organization has collectively mailed more than 250,000 letters to people in need since 2011, when it kind of all began. Hannah herself is known to have, write 500 letters to kind of respond to a specific request. She just absolutely loves doing this. It makes her feel good. So More Love Letters is not to be mistaken for kind of like a pen pal program. The writers are kind of instructed not to include personal contact information. She just really believes that the connection briefly with someone through a single letter, even an anonymous person, can really benefit an individual on both ends of the exchange. She says, "I always hope someone will feel loved, valued, and not so alone when they pick up a letter." But the letter writing can be just as much about the person who is writing. It's about finding those words that you need to hear yourself and then passing them on forward. Pretty cool idea. I'm sure a lot of people could use a love letter right now. So if you do want to go check that out, go to More Love Letters movement, and you can maybe send a love letter, receive some love letters. We can all use a little extra kindness these days. My next story is about a student. Her name is Jade Powell. She was supposed to be on spring break this week, like a lot of people were. She's 20 years old, and she studies at the University of Nevada in Reno. And her mother called her the other day, encouraging her just to check in on some of her elderly neighbors, just to see if they needed any supplies, since a lot more outbreaks were kind of being confirmed and popping up across the country. So she decided to do something that was kind of, a normal routine chore that we all do, which is grocery shopping. She thought, that could really be a huge task for a lot of elderly Americans that have, been warned to not go out at all, to really encourage social distancing, especially if you're older. So she's a med student, Jade, and she says, "I know that I can get sick just like everyone else, but the consequences won't be as severe. So I thought it'd be great to get a group of people together to help, those who can't necessarily leave their house right now." So she began to gather several members, just basically of her school's medical team over there that she's learning with, and they formed a group called Shopping Angels. It just kind of became, the need for grocery delivery, because right across the nation right now, grocery delivery is huge. Everyone's trying to, stay inside. So she was just hoping that she could kind of try to do her part. So she created a Facebook page, just kind of hoping to expand this movement, and it actually really quickly went viral. She said, "It's grown so much over the last few days. We have so many unread emails and messages, and we are still trying to address the nationwide response to this movement." She says, "It's amazing. I never expected it to be as big as what it is." So how does this all work? Basically, once a shopping angel is connected with a local citizen in need, the volunteer will then receive a shopping list, a budget, and some money. Some clients may even choose to order their groceries online and arrange for a drop-off at their home. Just kind of depends, but she wants to make sure that, her volunteers don't put any elderly at risk. So all the angels wear gloves while picking up, transporting, and delivering the groceries. They also do not enter people's homes either. So this isn't, your typical traditional shopping services. Most of your grocery shopping services range from $5 to $10 for delivery, maybe even more. But hers is completely free. She delivers to those that are impaired immune systems, anything. She just wants to help out. So her goal was to set up the Shopping Angels group in every single state. And she created a GoFundMe page to raise some money for those who might not be able to afford the groceries at this time. Right now, she's already raised over $19,000, which is pretty incredible. And a lot of, there are some grocery stores across the nation that have announced for, seniors only hours to get elderly customers in and the opportunity to shop in a safer environment. She's still getting so many different requests because people just don't want to leave their house. So she started this movement. Now there's a few Facebook pages. You can go check that out. It's Shopping Angels. You can be a part of it. You can add to the GoFundMe page, and just add to her movement and what she's doing, because we all need a little extra help right now. Okay, it's time for another break, but don't go anywhere. When we get back, of course, you know it, I have more amazing stories to share with you. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast. Let's jump right back into some more feel-good stories for you. My next one is about a Ark, Kansas property owner who is telling some restaurants to pay their staff instead of paying rent. So this property owner is trying to, ease that financial burden that a lot of restaurants, food service workers, really just everyone is going through right now, with all of the outbreaks. So Young Investment Company, LLC, owns a number of restaurants in Jonesboro, and they announced that they would not expect to receive rent payments for the month of April, and encourage that restaurants to use that money to help support their staff. So in an effort to do our part, Young Investment Company will not expect its restaurant tenants to pay April rent. We ask that you use this money instead to pay your employees and take care of your family. Stay strong, and we will all get through this together. There was also a similar thing that happened last week as a Maine landlord revealed that she would not be collecting rent next month as many of the tenants worked hourly jobs and would likely be hit hard during this outbreak. Some restaurants and bars in Arkansas have remained open as of right now, but the revenue has obviously significantly decreased, and I'm sure a lot of those are going to be closing right away. She says, just this past weekend, we saw a 60% cut in attendance in what we were bringing in revenue-wise. So, this could really make a huge difference for a lot of those employees that are, out of work right now. So, the owner of one of the restaurants, he kind of went on to share his appreciation for the landlord's, act of kindness. He said that he would use the money to pay the staff. He says, Mr. Young doing that for us this month, that money goes straight to the employees. Of course, when asked about this decision, you do not require the tenants to pay their April rent. He said, it's just the right thing to do. In this time, we all kind of need to make some sacrifices and try to help out wherever we can. So there are some places, of course, that are still open, but there is so many places all over our world that are shutting down. People are losing their jobs. So it's cool to see, a property manager take an extra step and just let people, have April off and take that time as a little bit of a breather. Now, I'm sure you've heard that Disneyland is closed, but Disneyland is going to be donating all the excess food during this closure, which I think is pretty cool. It's spreading all over, and Disney decided to shut down. Like most places have, Disneyland and Disney World, and of course, we're not allowed crowds. So the company did announce that it plans to donate all the excess food from its resort while the park is closed. There was a blog post with the external communications manager of Disneyland Resort, Kylie Johnson, and she announced that all the excess food from the Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure Park will be donated to Second Harvest Food Bank of Orange County. She said the resort is committed to reducing food waste. The company plans to donate, excess dairy, fruit, vegetables, packaged goods, and banquet meals to the food bank, that they are also working to end hunger in the Orange County area. So the Disneyland Resort has really implemented a food donation program. They've actually implemented this back in 2014 just to support the local community. But the resort has lots of food scraps, has a food scrap division program to reduce food waste, which is a huge contributor to, hurting the environment, right, is all the food waste. So they've already taken those precautions back in 2014, and then as well in 2019, they donated over 20,000 meals to Second Harvest Food Bank of Orange County. So now, since they are, closing their parks, they are going to be distributing any of the food that they have to the food bank and to places that need it, and just try to help out wherever they can. They do plan to remain closed through the end of the month. She says, we will monitor the ongoing situation and follow the advice and guidance of federal and state officials and health agencies. Disney will continue to pay cast members at this time, which is pretty cool. Also Walt Disney Shanghai Disney Resort in China, Hong Kong Disney, and Tokyo Disney have all closed as well due to the virus. So everything's closing, but at least they are taking, because that's a lot of food. Those parks have a lot of food, but they are taking that and donating it to a place, that needs to be. But they are taking that and donating it to help out where it needs to go. Now, my next story is about a 15-year-old girl, and she's actually helping to protect some of California's most vulnerable people from the dangers of all this outbreak. Her name is Shavi Shai, and she's kind of rallied together some society students and helping her give away more than 250 low-cost sanitization kits, and she's giving them away to homeless shelters around Los Angeles. Each kit contains a hand sanitizer, lotion, antibacterial soap, and handmade reusable face masks to help homeless people stay safe during this COVID-19 pandemic. So she is a high school student at Tesoro High School. She has quite the impressive track record for all of her charity work that she's done. She said that she was inspired to pursue this particular labor of love after hearing about Governor Gavin Newsom's recent speech on addressing the state's homelessness crisis. She says they don't have necessities right now that are crucial to remain clean and stay germ-free. It's important for people to step in and just do whatever they can, even if it just helps one person. So she launched a GoFundMe campaign to raise additional money for, kind of expanding her initiative outside of Los Angeles as well. And that page has already raised more than $13,000 in 9 days. 15-year-old girl, though, and she got that idea. I think that's pretty cool. Now, I thought I would share something that we could all, I think, benefit from right now. In my last episode that I talked to you about, there was some really cool live museums that you could go on the internet and virtually go through really cool museums all over the world, which I think is such a cool and interesting idea because we all have some time to kill right now. If you are, really practicing your social distancing, you are probably trying to find ways to keep yourself sane, while sitting in your house. So I have some kind of cool ideas. These are some zoo and aquarium live streams that you can enjoy from your home. It's kind of like the museum thing, but it's pretty cool. So the first one is Belugas and Otters and Penguins, Oh My. This is the Georgia Aquarium that has a number of live video streams. So it allows you to see like daily goings of there's African penguins, there's beluga whales, sea otters, and barrier reef dwellers. So that's pretty cool. Number 2 is Jellycam. This is the Monterey Bay Aquarium that kind of has a similar line of different marine live streams. It all goes through their website. It's kind of like a jellyfish live stream, and it's pretty cool, and they call it very enchanting. So go check that one out. Number 3 is Giant Panda Cam. This is literally the cam to look at giant pandas. I don't know how you could get much better than that. So Giant Panda Cam's another one. Number 4 is a Bald Eagle Nest Cam. This is another live stream. It's filmed in Washington, D.C., and it captures the daily nesting activity of 2 bald eagles. They're named Mr. President and First Lady. So go check out Mr. President and First Lady. Number 5 is Giraffes Galore. In Texas, the Houston Zoo webcam allows you to check up on the resident giraffes, and you can even control the angle of the webcam from your computer. So that's a pretty cool one. The next one is Hummingbird Watching. It's an anonymous California homeowner that has set up an online live stream for Bella. Bella is a hummingbird that has been returning to the same tree since 2005. So go check out Bella. The next one's Man's Best Virtual Friend. This is a live stream from the Warrior Canine Connection that allows you to look at puppies that are training to be service dogs for veterans. That's a cool one. The next one is Admire the Animals of Africa. They wanted to kind of raise the awareness of the problems with poaching. So the Temb Live Wildlife Webcam Monitors is a popular watering hole that kind of you see elephants, giraffes, buffaloes. This is all kind of in the bushlands of Africa. Next one is Senior Dog Stream. There's lots of, if you're, don't have your puppy at home to hang out with, you can go to Senior Dog Stream, and it's Old Friends Senior Dog's Home, and it allows you kind of get a sneak peek inside a retirement home for elderly pups. Doesn't get much cuter than that. And then the last one is Critters from Down Under, and this is the Melbourne Zoo, that has recently kind of kicked off their #AnimalsAtHome live stream, and you can see a lion, some snow leopards, giraffe, and penguin enclosures. So there you go. You have more things that you can do in your spare time. That is all the stories I have to share with you today. Thank you so much for listening to GSMC, America Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. Every single time I do these episodes, it makes me feel good, so I hope it makes you feel good in a time of chaos right now. I look forward to sharing more with you next time, so do not forget to hit that subscribe button, like and follow us on social media, and leave a 5-star review. Till next time, stay healthy, stay well, and stay positive. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows. From the GSMC Podcast Network, from social media news to marketing news, and even weird news, the GSMC Podcast Network has you covered. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast.